Good evening. Welcome to this month's Town Administrators Report. I'm David West Jr., and with me is our Town Administrator, Steve Maio. Welcome, Steve.
Thank you, Dave. I think this is the last day of the year I can wear, the pink and the light blue. It's after Labor Day, but it's all right. I'm taking it till September 30th.
As long as you're not wearing white shoes, you're
not
okay.
white shoes, yeah, not yet.
And also with us is our new Chief of Police, Chief Steve Skory. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, and I wear the same thing every day.
Well, but you go from summer uniform to winter uniform and back
The biggest
again.
change is short sleeves or long sleeves.
Yeah. Chief, you've been with the police department how many years now?
A little over 19.
And before that, you had a very wide, very varied series of experiences before coming to Wakefield.
I did. I've had the opportunity to work for several different agencies. When I went to Northeastern University for my bachelor's degree, I had the opportunity to work for the U.S. Marshal Service as a co-op student, and I had a lot of great experiences there. I was sent down to Newark, New Jersey. I spent a year working down there. A lot of great experience working with a federal agency. When I graduated from college, I was hired by the Middleton Police Department, and I started there in 1994, and I worked as a patrolman for 6 years there. I met a lot of great people, a lot of experienced police officers that I learned a lot from. I did work part-time in Hampton, New Hampshire as a summer police officer, which is a great crash course in law enforcement.
In the
It
summer
really is.
especially.
It
Sure,
is. It's
sure.
it is a crash course. All great experiences.
Yeah.
Stuff that I really enjoyed, and the opportunity came up in 2000 for me to join the Wakefield Police Department. And at that time, I was 30 years old, and I was scheduled to get married, and it was going to be a big change, and I was a little nervous about it, but I looked at it as an opportunity I couldn't pass on. And it's Town of Wakefield and the Wakefield Police Department have been nothing but great to me ever since.
And it was indicative of just how wide your experience has been. When the swearing-in ceremony in June, we had police officers from every community you had worked in, including New Hampshire, come down just to attend the swearing-in.
I made a lot of great friends. I've met a lot of tremendously talented people over the course of my career, and I've learned a lot from everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was one of the Middleton sergeant that said he always knew you were a comer. We knew that. Yeah.
And like the previous chief, you also took the FBI course.
I did. I went to the FBI National Academy in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Great experience. I was down in Quantico, Virginia for 11 weeks. There were 218 students in my session representing 30 different countries. And the National Academy, it's a management course. It's a course for police managers and management styles, leadership, legal updates. And the best part of it is being with leaders throughout the country and around the world. You hear about their experiences, things you might have seen on TV or read about in a newspaper. You actually meet people that were involved at those situations. And I learned just as much from my classmates as I did from the courses.
Yeah, I would think that an international group like that, you would get some idea of some of the things that may be different in Europe, for instance, from here, and how you could apply that.
In the opposite, there are some countries that are more lawless than we are,
Yep.
so to speak. The police have a little more freedom, and the same is true around the country.
Yeah.
But to hear how police managers throughout the world have dealt with different situations that even we might face in small little Wakefield, hear how they handled that, it really helps going forward.
What are the changes you've seen as a police officer in Wakefield over the 19 years you've been here?
There's been a lot of changes in policing in general, not so much just with the town. You know, when I started this job, it was let's go out and arrest everybody, and we weren't so much caretakers as we are now. You know, there was that warrior mentality. Now we're caretakers. We're caretakers of society. When people don't know who to turn to for help, they turn to us. And we might not have the answer because it's not something that we've dealt with before, but we'll find the answer and we'll figure out a solution. And maybe we're not perfect the first time, but we'll work, we'll train, and that's how we approach everything going forward. Be prepared for the future.
And I think for almost your entire career in Wakefield, you worked very closely with our citizens, particularly in the rape aggression defense area.
Yes.
And I think that you told me that that was one of your pinnacles of your career is how these maybe more frail and soft and quiet women would begin in the class, and by the end of the class they were strong and ready to protect
were.
themselves. Talk about that a little bit.
So one of
because
the
that was
things
very interesting to me.
you asked me in the past was, what am I most proud of here
Yeah,
in my
exactly.
career in Wakefield?
Yeah.
And in 2003, myself, Officer Bill Dalton, who has since retired, and Janine Camellia Smith, who had resigned from the police department but was still close with us, we started the Rape Aggression Defense Program, which it's known as RAD. And it's a 4-day crash course in self-defense. And we don't teach, you don't walk out of there being a black belt. But it's a crash course in mental self-defense and physical self-defense. We teach people how to be smart in everything that they do, whether they're walking to work, whether they're at school, when they get into an elevator, if they take public transportation. Look at the things around you. Be aware of your surroundings. Be aware of where you are and who's around you and what they're doing. That's 90% of self-defense. That doesn't always work. If that doesn't work, we teach people how to use the 10% of self-defense, which is hands-on. And we teach, I'll call it what it is, it's some dirty tricks to survive a fight. And it empowers women to know that they're much stronger than they think they are. Most of the people in this world have never been in a physical confrontation. They're not confident in their abilities to survive.
Right.
And what we want women to know is that no matter your age, no matter your stature, how tall or short you are, or how strong or weak you are, you can survive any given situation. And on the last night of the course, we have some simulated exercises that we put the people through, and it's the same dynamics of every class. You can see when they come in on night 4 that they're nervous, they're not sure how they'll do, and when they leave, we have to, when the class is over that night, we actually have to keep them there for an hour or so, let them settle down a little bit, because they're so excited about their success and realizing how strong they actually are. That we have to make sure that we don't send them out and they get a little aggressive with everybody. But we've taught people from the ages of 13 to 87. And we've taught hundreds and hundreds of students. And just to see their change in 4 simple nights of instruction, it's an incredible feeling. They feel incredible, and I can tell you as RAD instructors, we feel like proud parents when they leave that last night.
I bet. Sure.
Yeah.
I think that's quite a story, and that's a testament to the community policing that the chief is involved in, empowering, women in society to protect themselves. And I just, that really kind of blew me away during our interview and our conversations as we were going forward here. So that stuck with me for a while. I did want that, because not a lot of people know that story. He's very private and
Oh, yeah.
And
But
that needs
when
to
you
be
talk
told.
about community policing, we've talked about this before, also with Chief Smith when he's been with us a couple times, is the fact that policing has changed, so it's more community-based. So it's more looking at what the community needs beyond just the traffic enforcement or crime.
And when you talk about the changes in policing, one of the changes that we've seen is we've become we're almost like teachers as well. In the totem pole of our responsibilities, you can add teacher in there. We have school resource officers who, they're instructors at the school. We have the RAD, we're self-defense instructors. We have people who go to the Chamber of Commerce and teach about workplace safety. We're working on a course right now for safety for places of worship. We want to be able to go to the clergy and say, this is what you can do to improve the safety of your building. So we become teachers, and that is a big part of community policing.
How much of that is just development over the years, and how much of that is the change in our society to almost a weekly violent act somewhere in the country?
Sadly enough, a lot of this comes about from terrible incidents.
Yeah.
It's we can go right back to Wakefield, Harvard Mills.
Yes.
Terrible, terrible incident. We learn from that. We adapt from that. We change. We changed our training techniques because of incidents like that. Things that happen around the world. We look at improving the safety in our places of worship now because of terrible acts that have occurred around the world. It's a shame that that's how it happens, but that's where it comes from.
but in a lot of ways, it has also made the police as an organization closer to the ordinary person in the community, whether it be Wakefield or wherever. It isn't just an us and them relationship anymore.
The great thing about Wakefield is, in my 19 years here, I've never felt that us versus them mentality. Everywhere I go, I meet people, I shake hands every day. I've never felt that us versus them mentality in this town. I've never been in a town, and I've worked for several towns, and the support that we get from the town administrator, the town council, committees, people in general, all I have to do is walk through the square and people will approach me. And the fact that people feel that we are approachable speaks volumes to that
Absolutely.
relationship that we have.
Absolutely. There are a lot of communities you can't do that,
Not at all.
Absolutely.
you know?
A few years ago, we started on the police force, and I know this is really where we're spending, or you're spending, and your office is spending a lot of their time, kind of a program in how we work together to, I'm not going to say resolve, because we're never going to resolve it, but lessen kind of some of the social challenges that we face, whether it be mental health issues, substance abuse issues with often our hands in hand, homelessness. Talk a little bit about that briefly, about how that's really changed our police force and the resources that we've worked on together and we put together, and the community has supported greatly, which is a big factor there, is that we have to get these funded at town meeting, and they have been.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that and how that has emerged, and where I think we are way ahead of the curve
Which we are.
most police, if not all police, and really and we're kind of the model. They come to us and look for it. So if you can give us a thumbnail on that.
As we talked about, policing is a constantly evolving profession. And several years ago, what really started to become noticeable was our need to get involved with the mental health community. A lot of police-related calls have to do with people who suffer from mental illness. And the solution to everything isn't to put handcuffs on people. You have to get to the root cause of the problem. What can we do to help people to take them out of whatever mental state they're in and solve whatever issues are going on? So I have to give credit to Detective Ken Silva, because he spearheaded this project, and we called it the Silva Project. And we got a good number of our officers trained in crisis intervention. Crisis intervention means that the officers are trained to recognize that a person is having an episode, we'll call it, or a bad day, and what can they do to help that person? Does it involve getting them to the hospital for treatment? Does it involve reaching out to their counselors or their social workers and seeing what can we do to help them? Maybe medications are off slightly and they just need to be tweaked. Those are the root. That's how you solve an issue, not by putting handcuffs on somebody. So we started the Silva Project, and our officers went through the training, and they really took to it. And it's outside the globe of traditional policing. So it was kind of curious to see how would they accept it, would they be willing to do it, and they take great pride in it. And more officers jumped on that. And after some time, we were able to get a mental health clinician to work directly with us. So we have Jen Wykowski, and she's an employee of Elliott, but she works in our police station 24 hours a week.
Just to explain to people, Elliott is a provider of mental health services
Correct.
that is based in Massachusetts.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And she has been with us, I think, for almost 8 years now. She's not a sworn police officer. She's a civilian employee, but she fits right in. And the officers they've adopted her like a sister. They work very well with her. They take her out on patrol when they need to. They'll go back to the station and get her if they need to take her to a call. And she has been a tremendous asset to the police department, just helping us find resources for people that maybe we weren't aware of or were outside of our abilities to get somebody into. And her working knowledge of the people in our town, she does a lot of work behind the scenes that people don't know about and don't recognize. Substance abuse is a huge issue. We've been able to get a recovery coach. The recovery coach works with people who are seeking treatment and want to get sober. And our goal is to get people sober.
Sure.
There's an opioid epidemic. So like every town, we have overdoses. I think our approach to overdoses is unlike any other. Our follow-up, if somebody overdoses, the following day our detectives go knock on their door, offer whatever services they can. Our family services officer reaches out. Then we have the recovery coach reach out. There's a 4-step process that we have after somebody overdoses. What we've seen and how the effect that that's had is, I looked at the overdose numbers for last year, and I looked at them for this year. At this time last year, we had 43 recorded overdoses or reported overdoses. This year, we have 35, so we're down 16%. But where we're really down is in what I call repeat overdoses. The same person overdosing repeatedly.
Multiple times.
Correct.
Sure.
And we had a lot of those last year.
Yeah.
We don't have any this year.
Wow.
And it's because of the follow-up of our people. And like Mr. Mayo said, we're at the forefront of this. Our agency was out with crisis intervention before any other police department. 35% of our department is trained as crisis intervention people, whereas the national average is 20. We have set the bar for all of the police departments. We are way ahead of this. And I'm proud of that, and the officers are proud of it as well. They know they're the leader in this, and they take pride in it.
I'm extremely proud of it too, and I know that the council is. And we made a decision collectively, working with the police department, years ago, that we were not going to arrest our way out of these problems. It wasn't going to go away. We went the clinician route, and again, the officers were trained. We did not have lobster rolls for them. That was the rumor out there, and that's okay because they deserved it and they should have had it anyway. But what a difference it's made. And when you see other communities coming to us saying, how did you do this? Can we talk to you, Chief? Can we come in? Absolutely. The problem is, we all have this problem, whether it's Wakefield, Stoneham, Natick, wherever.
Right.
It's a problem. So I am so proud of our officers, so proud of the Chief. And this is continuing today with, some of the issues that we have. And do they bubble into the center of the community? Yes, they do. Are we working through it? Yes, we are.
Yeah.
And it's not going to please everybody.
Right.
But I believe that we have the right path and are on the right path and are doing the human thing and the humane thing about it. So I'm very proud of the whole police staff, particularly starting with the Chief, because he is committed to this, and I really appreciate it.
Actually, the whole leadership corps in the police department has demonstrated this for a number of years now.
We have great people. We're very lucky to have the people that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If you had to choose, what's the biggest issue that's coming up for you in the next year?
It's funny you should ask. I was putting some serious thought into that today, and then I received an email about a decision that the Cannabis Control Commission made yesterday. And so there's been a lot of issues with the legalization of marijuana that concern me. I'm not thrilled with it. But they made a decision yesterday to allow for delivery of marijuana to homes, as well as to allow marijuana use in social settings. That's a huge problem. The regulation, and I haven't had the opportunity to read the whole thing yet, but it's going to allow for drivers to deliver marijuana to homes. And they'll be allowed to transport a certain amount of marijuana and to carry up to $10,000 in cash in their vehicle. That is going to be a huge problem.
I can see Steve shaking his head over there.
Well, I'm shaking my head because, on the other hand, the governor did a great job, and he banned vaping, for the next 4 months while we look at it. And yet you hear the Cannabis Control Commission, and many of them have criticized the governor for the vaping decision, making this decision yesterday about this delivery. And we all know the banking industry, the federal banking industry, doesn't really like the marijuana business. It's a cash business. It's tough to pay it otherwise. I can see such a nightmare for our police department as this goes around, because hey, it's a criminal world. They're going to know this person has marijuana and $10,000 in cash.
Anybody transporting those two items is a target for criminal activity. And it's usually violent criminal activity.
Right.
Yeah.
My fear is, I don't know who would want to be that driver in the first place. I can be honest with you. But somebody will do it.
Sure.
And the safety of that person and the safety of anybody else around. If that person's driving, they're stopped at a red light, and a criminal group decides that's where we're going to commit our criminal act,
Mm-hmm.
what about the innocent person sitting in the car next to that person? Those are the things I worry about. I think it's a poor decision. We don't allow the delivery of alcohol. Why would we allow the delivery of marijuana?
Right.
It makes no sense. So that's a major issue I worry about. Hands-free driving. I can tell you since the beginning of my career, the biggest change in traffic safety are accidents due to cell phone use.
Mm-hmm.
The number of rear-end collisions, significant rear-end collisions,
Mm-hmm.
they're all due to cell phone use. We have to get the hands-free bill passed. Right now it's hung up because of some language over data collection. They have to work through that. That bill needs to get passed. People are afraid to ride their bicycles on the street.
Yes,
People who
I'm one of them.
like to ride motorcycles
Yep.
don't ride anymore because they're worried about their safety. Because let's face it, people are using their phones while they're driving.
The number of people I see just in my neighborhood, because Greenwood Avenue has become a pass-through, Green
It's a
Street
bypass
and
for Main
Greenwood
Street.
to get away from the lights in Greenwood Center. And the number of people, especially in the morning, who are zipping down Greenwood Ave at 40, 45, sometimes almost 50 miles an hour, with the cell phone here, they're doing this. It's a miracle someone hasn't been hit.
Right.
Or that they haven't taken out one of the parked cars along the street.
And there's a law in effect now that says you can't use your cell phone for sending electronic messages.
Right.
Enforcement's nearly impossible. How do you prove somebody was sending an electronic message when they drive by you with their phone up like this? They could say, I was talking on my phone. I just happened to be holding it up, or I was looking for a phone number. So we need that hands-free bill.
Yeah. And there are some very good units. I drive stick.
Mm-hmm.
So I need both hands to drive. There is no option. And a few years ago, I discovered a trucker's headset, which is fantastic. You never have to touch your phone. You just touch a button and ask Siri to dial a number or answer a call.
And most
that's it.
cars now have Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Which makes other states have passed the hands-free bill.
Yeah.
They did it with ease. Why can't we do it?
Yeah, it is amazing that is hung up with the way that it is right now. I did speak with Senator Lewis about this the other day. We had talking a number of issues, and he thought that was going to get through quickly, but we'll see. We did tell him that we
thought it
wanted
was going to get through last year.
Yeah. Well,
and here we are a year later, and it's still going on. What are some of the other issues you're going to be looking at as chief in town?
Well, let me address the issues I see with the police department.
Yeah.
My biggest concern is recruitment of new officers. There was recently a civil service test back in March, and the civil service list came out in September, and there were only 29 Wakefield residents on that civil service list. That's concerning to me. I can tell you that 20 years ago when I took the test, I went up to the vocational school to wait in line to get in, and there were hundreds of people lined up around that building to get in. The fact that there's only 29 Wakefield residents on that list concerns me. So we have to come up with a plan. How do we recruit people to want to be Wakefield police officers? We pride ourselves in hiring only the best candidates, but we don't want a limited pool of candidates. And we want it to reflect the community. So how do we recruit a reflection of our community? So we're working on a plan to have police explorers program at the high school. But we also have to work on going to local colleges and recruiting there. There are Wakefield residents who go to local schools. But it is concerning to me, and I think, I know for a fact that the numbers are down because, let's face it, the police have taken a beating in the national media the last X number of years. We haven't been portrayed in the best light, and which is unfortunate because I consider our police department to be an elite police department. And the people who work here, they're proud to work here, but I worry about the numbers going down.
and the chief is right that is in a lot of the publications that come out. It is a national issue, and it is the bad press, and and not only the bad press, but the shots, the verbal shots and the electronic shots that police department takes on social media. It really is debilitating, and I completely understand that feeling that the police officers have, and it's unfair because they're there to protect and serve the public. And hey, few things happen in other areas, and I don't want to dismiss them as not being horrible, and they were. But that doesn't happen here.
Right.
But that national tone kind of trickles down.
It gets
And
painted
it's-
with the same brush.
exactly.
They don't look at the individual communities, but
Policing is a great profession. And the reason I love this job so much is because it's different every day.
mm-hmm.
I can't tell you what the challenges will be a year from now. I can't predict that. There will be a new challenge. I just don't know what it is yet. And that's what makes this job so great. It's not a stagnant job. Every day you come to work, you're going to see something different. But you might have to make a decision in a hair second
Right.
that is going to affect the rest of your life, the rest of somebody else's life.
Mm-hmm.
And you only have that split second to make that decision. But everybody else has endless time to Monday morning quarterback the decision you made. And a lot of people don't want to be in that situation.
Sure.
A lot of people don't want that pressure and that stress.
Sure.
So that's something we have going against us also.
We're going to be seeing discussion coming up. Well, it's already started actually on the police building again. What do you see as the most important thing about that the public needs to understand now going forward before it comes up before annual town meeting?
Yeah, it'll come up in the annual
Yeah.
town meeting in
Next
May.
May.
So the most important thing that people need to know is that the way the building is designed now is not suitable for their needs or our needs.
Mm-hmm.
When somebody walks into the lobby of the police station, there's nobody in there. During the day, during the week, the records office is on the first floor in the lobby.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody needs a police report, they can get a police report. But that's not how it should be set up. You should have what I call one-stop shopping. If you walk into the lobby of the police station, you should be able at all hours of the day or night see a person, face-to-face interaction. Dispatch should be on the first floor. If you walk in, you need a police report during the day, records should be there as well. Anything you need, you should be able to have face-to-face interaction with somebody, and that person should be in the lobby of the police station.
Right.
So the current setup doesn't work. We deal with a lot of people who want to report sensitive issues, and we really don't have a secure area to take them to away from anybody who might be in the lobby of the police station to conduct that interview without walking them through the entire building, which is supposed to be a secure area.
Right.
That's an issue. I mean, we need to address everybody's needs, and we need to respect their privacy, and we need to give them a safe place for them to tell us their story, and we don't have that. As far as our work inside of the building goes, we're out of space. To just be perfectly honest with you, we are completely out of space. We have our family services officer, Amy Randall. Her office is a converted closet. There are no windows. She's in the basement. We converted a closet into an office. Our mental health clinician, Jen Wachowski, same thing. She is working out of a converted closet. So those closets were there for storage.
Right.
We had to take what was in there, move it to somewhere else. Everything keeps getting displaced. We now have things stored under stairwells. We have lockers in hallways. We have nowhere to store property that's brought in for safekeeping. Our evidence room is full. It's ready to explode at the seams. We're completely out of space. And we have to think to the future. So we have a growing town. Let's face it, the town is growing. The demand on our services grows. We didn't have a mental health clinician 8 years ago. We didn't have a family services officer 5 years ago. Now we do. We may need 2 at some point. We might need 3 mental health clinicians. We don't have the space for them. We don't have the space for the recovery coach that we have right now.
Right.
We need to bring her into our building to work with us, to be there with us every day. And we just don't have the space. So we need to look at building a building that meets the needs of the public and meets the needs of the police department. And that need is for us to be able to grow and meet their demands.
And the plan the plans that we've been working on
Yeah.
will allow for a police staff of 60. I mean, that's a good look into the future.
Sure.
And I think we'll hear a lot more about that, and that is
Well,
at the top of the
we'll have
priority
an upcoming
list.
show
Yeah.
just on that subject. And we're over time, but before you leave, and this happened quite by accident this summer as I was walking by the library, but we're going to send you back. For those who have not seen what our police department looks like now, This is your police department on the steps of the library on July 4th.
And what's great about that picture is July 4th is the only day of the year that the entire police department is working at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's our only opportunity to have a group photo taken. And Tom Stapleton was there, took a photo. You were there, Dave, to take a photo. We really appreciate that. And it's we'll hang that in the hallway at the station.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. And with that, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next month.